Always good to see you
Good
here,
to see
Tom.
you too, Tim.
Don, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing just, guess, better than I deserve.
Good. Well, I heard you're with a new organization now?
Yes, left Youth for Christ after 35 years and now started something called Winning America.
Right. Well, great. Hey, you know what? And just give a yell and I'll be there for you, whatever you need.
Got it. Dawn, I thought of you a few weeks ago with See You at the Pole because, and I had a chance to go from the high school to the junior high to one of our elementaries, and all I thought about the conversations that we had years ago.
20, starting, yeah, that's when it started.
That's
Tim, I need to see you right now.
Okay, sure. What's up?
What do you mean, what's up? I took your advice. You told me to buy tickets for Bethany to Hawaii. I bought her tickets to Hawaii. You told me to pay more attention to her. I've been following around for 2 days now straight. She's madder now than she was before. I mean, Tim, your advice didn't work. I mean, I was better off, I hate to say this, to take advice off of Dirk. Jeez.
I can't believe it.
What's all this? What's going on? You know better than this. Get out of my booth and take all this camera stuff with you.
I can't. Look, Dirk is going to take my backstory, and I convinced him to redo it, so he told me to sit here, so I got to sit here.
Backstory?
Yeah.
Son, you don't have no backstory. You haven't lived long enough to have a backstory. Now go get me some coffee. Come on.
All right. Man.
Welcome to the feedback portion of the program, and that's where we get to talk back to you. You send us emails, you send us comments on the web through our hisplace.tv website, and we get to respond to you. And Susan wrote, she's responding about Ron Moore's great book, says, God has a plan and a purpose for us. He gets our attention by any means that will work. Once God gets our attention, Ron Moore's book, Ignite, can show us how to ignite a passion for Christ and break the chains that hold us captive to the freedom that is ours in Christ. I want that passion. That's what we love to do with the program, is get people fired up and excited about their walk with Christ. So if you want to leave a comment or you're curious about the program and have a question, go to hisplace.tv and leave your comment or your question. Just small coffee, please.
Wait, small coffee? You always get the caramel mocha lead and I get the mocha light on a muffin. And are you cutting back? You have heart problems?
Nothing like that. I am cutting back, though, because there's some things that I want to do.
Oh, you mean like buy a new car or a big vacation?
No, nothing like that. See, I've started 20 for 20. It's this way that I can reach out around the world through my neighborhood and literally around the world. It's Cornerstone Television's new outreach program where 20 for 20 stands for $20 a month for 20 minutes. Basically, for $20 a month, if I skip a few muffins and a few scones every month, then what I can do is support 20 minutes of Cornerstone Television's broadcast day.
Well, no, they broadcast in my neighborhood, around the country, and around the world, right?
Yeah, well, my $20 is bringing the gospel to my neighborhood as well as around the world, but it's doing more than that. I'm feeding and clothing orphans. I'm also seeing families restored. And you know what? The other night, somebody called, and they were at the end of their rope. Somebody prayed for them. Their life was changed. I like to believe that that was my 20 minutes. That's worth skipping a few muffins a month.
Hey, Mr. Wiley. Do you remember me? I'm Dirk Oliver. We met not too long ago. I sat down next to you and you told me to get back up again. I've seen you around here and I've heard a lot about you.
Yeah, I know who you are. Telling everybody to sit in my booth. Where's my coffee?
I tell you what, we got our camera set up here and you're in the hot seat, so to speak. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, me and my late wife, Josie, used to come to Tim's Diner all the time. When they had waiters and waitresses who get you your coffee, then have all these cameras and things annoying you.
Now, you mentioned your wife, Josie?
Yes. My wife, Josie, passed away several years ago. Life hasn't been the same without her. I do have several grandchildren. I'm especially close to my grandson. They don't live here anymore. Do you have any family here?
No, not really. I don't really have any family anywhere anymore since my dad's gone. He passed away about a year ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Dirk. Sure would be nice to reminisce over some coffee.
Oh, wait a minute. Why are you taping this old man? It's my turn.
I know, but look.
Hey, he's done with me. I'm not leaving. Go tape your Dirk show somewhere else.
Well, that went well. Let's go set up somewhere else. By the way, it's perks. Perks, not jerks. And I know that you know that. I just want you to know that I know.
Yeah, we gave that.
You said something, and it's just so true, talking about the church and how much of our resources, how much of our attention, how much of our energy are inward and not outward, like the challenge of the Great Commission.
Yes, I don't know any perfect numbers, obviously, but
Right.
I think most churches try to at least tithe, which means that 90% of their money, and I think 90% of most churches' efforts, energy, time, resources is turned inward. And where's that leave the Great Commission?
That's right.
So I just think that we need to address the fact that so much effort and time is focused inward. And how do we motivate people to get outside of that? Jesus, that's his last words he gave us.
It is.
It's the Great Commission. That's something he wants us to
There's
remember.
no question that the church is not in the position of authority, not in the lead position that it had been from the time of Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Why? What's happened that the church is now secondary?
Early in our history, in America's history, the church was the center of community life. And it was the most influential force in the community. That pulpit was the most powerful spot in the community. The pastors were the superstars of that era. They were the rock stars. They were the ones that were the best paid, the best educated, and the most highly esteemed.
Interesting to think of.
Who is that now? Professional athletes, Hollywood, and rock stars. Those are the ones now that hold.
attention,
That's right.
have that
They're
platform.
the ones that are the best paid. Hollywood. So all of our cultural icons today, instead of being pastors, are entertainment oriented. What's that tell us about us? And we wonder why the church is no longer the influence it used to be.
Sure.
So how did that happen? Well, we're talking early in our history, so we're talking 150 to 200 years ago or so, when the church was the center of it all.
Absolutely. Education, the finest institutions were Christ-centered.
Oh yeah.
Medicine, everything was Christ-centered.
All the early colleges, I think 106 out of the first 107 or something like that, colleges were started
to equip pastors.
on a Christian basis. Yes,
Absolutely.
almost all the Ivy League schools and so many others. But what has happened is, I believe, now I'm not an expert at this, but I've done a little bit of homework on this type of stuff. What I think has happened is that early in the 20th century, the church started to take a posture, and there's all kinds of reasons why. Some people think the mainline denominations were starting to drift from their biblical truth, their foundations. So the church there started to be a reaction to that, and new denominations were starting, the Nazarenes, the Assembly of God, all in the early 1900s. So what happened was they took off, and they started to grow. And beyond that, there was a big movement that was very much separatist. And so those people were very influential, and they started pulling away, and they started saying, you know what, politics is dirty, business is dirty, the entertainment world and education are dirty, and we're going to pull away. We're going to stay spiritual. We're going to do the spiritual stuff, and we're going to get people saved. In other words, get them in the lifeboats because the ship's going down. So we backed off. Early in the 20th century, the church backed off. Not everybody, but to a large degree. I mean, I think we're seeing the results of that today.
We absolutely are.
How influential is the church today in our culture? It's not on everybody's consciousness.
I took your advice, and my wife is madder now than she was before.
Come on, Joe. I don't see how she could be. Did you offered to take her to Hawaii?
Well, not exactly. I mean, I bought her a ticket.
For her to go alone?
No, I bought her 2 tickets so she could take anybody she wanted. I mean, she wants me to go, but I can't get off work.
Joe, come on.
I mean, I spend all her time with her now. I'm spending more time with. I spent 2 whole days following her around doing chores. You know, we went to the mall. We went to dry cleaners. I mean, we got her hair done. I mean, we even bought office supplies.
Joe, I meant for you to take her to Hawaii, okay? And then on top of that, to spend quality time with her. I mean, go for walks with her, take her to dinner, spend time cuddling on the couch. I mean, it doesn't have to be too expensive, and it doesn't have to be all that time consuming.
Whoops, I really screwed up this time, huh? Hey, man, am I dumb?
It's okay, but you know what? On your way home, I think I'd stop by and pick up some flowers.
And candy, too. She just loves candy. Hey, thanks, Tim.
Good deal.
You're the
Good
greatest.
deal. Okay.
I better go now. See
Take
ya.
her to Hawaii.
Thanks,
okay?
buddy.
That's the key.
His place.
Just small coffee, please.
Wait, small coffee? You always get the caramel mocha lead and I get the mocha lot on a muffin. And are you cutting back? You have heart problems?
Nothing like that. I am cutting back, though, because there's some things that I want to do.
Oh, you mean like buy a new car or a big vacation?
No, nothing like that. See, I've started 20 for 20. It's this way that I can reach out around the world through my neighborhood and literally around the world. It's Cornerstone Television's new outreach program where 20 for 20 stands for $20 a month for 20 minutes. Basically, for $20 a month, if I skip a few muffins and a few scones every month, then what I can do is support 20 minutes of Cornerstone Television's broadcast day.
Well, no, they broadcast in my neighborhood, around the country, and around the world, right?
Yeah, well, my $20 is bringing the gospel to my neighborhood as well as around the world, but it's doing more than that. I'm feeding and clothing orphans. I'm also seeing families restored. And you know what? The other night, somebody called, and they were at the end of their rope. Somebody prayed for them. Their life was changed. I like to believe that that was my 20 minutes. That's worth skipping a few muffins a month. Do you know that your morning cup of coffee can help clothe, feed, rescue, and care for the poorest of the poor? I know it may seem hard to believe, but it can happen. His Place and Kiva Han Coffee have joined forces to bring a special blend of coffee that will change the world. Hope Coffee is a direct trade coffee, which means that the families of the people who work hard on the coffee farms receive the funds directly from their harvest. In addition, the profits from Hope Coffee go to help rescue children in impoverished countries and bring the message of God's love to people all around the world. For a limited time, for your gift of $37, we'll send you as our thank you a His Place mug and a 12-ounce bag of Hope Coffee. Together, we're changing the world one life at a time through one cup of coffee at a time. Send your gift today.
His place.
Hey, Tim, you don't really need to do that.
Do what?
I mean, you know, the cameras aren't rolling. We got a lot of footage of you reading the Bible, and, you know, I think anybody that watches the show will know you're pretty religious, so it's okay.
Dirk, I don't read my Bible to put on a show. I mean, I read it to find out, you know, who God is for me today and what he wants from me. And so I understand better about who God is.
Wow. All right. You know, I believe in God or a higher power, or, you know, whatever it is you want to call it. But here's the thing I don't get. How is it that reading a centuries-old book can really apply to 2011?
Well, let me ask you something. Do you look for guidance in your life, or are you looking to know that what you're doing is of value and worth, and that there's some sense or some purpose?
Well, sure, we all look for that.
Well, the Bible says one of the things is listen, delight yourself in God, or make yourself happy in God, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Acknowledge Him, and He'll make your path straight. So you have an understanding of where you're going and how you're getting there from here.
Okay, but there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't really apply to what we go through today.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me take you a step back. Okay, I've heard those arguments before, but have you read it?
Well, no. I mean, you know, here and there. Look, one thing I know is that there's an angry God in there. Did a lot of smiting and killing and stoning and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, the story seems so antiquated, you know? I mean, how does it apply today?
Well, there are stories that are hard to understand. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I mean, there are things and the way that God does things sometimes that I don't understand. But I do know overall, as you read the book, that I see a God who really loves me and has a plan and a purpose for me. And he's trying to talk to me through these pages in everyday things. Like one of the things he says here in Proverbs 23 is that so a man thinks, so he is. And oftentimes people wake up on the wrong side of the bed and they feel like they're having a bad day, and so they have a bad day all day. And or something good happens, and so they get excited and they feel warm and excited, and so all day long they have a good day. And we can impact that because God says, so a man thinks, so he is. And there's all kinds of wonderful stories in here about people that made mistakes, people that blew it, and yet God still loves them. I mean, every single one of us blows it on a regular basis. And to realize that, you know what, there are people in here like Abraham and David that really messed up, and God still loves them. And so, what does that say about me?
You read that every day?
Every day. Every day. And I don't read it. See, the thing is, I don't read it religiously. I read it because, you know what, this is talking about somebody that loves me and somebody that I love. And so I read it because I love. Not because I feel compelled to, or that it's something I have to do, you know, because God's going to smite me, to use your word, if I don't read it. But I know that there's something in here that God wants to talk to me about. And so I read it. And there's always something, you know, I've read through this book probably 12 or 15 times, and there's always something new.
Hey, one sec. Hey, Dirk.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry that old man messed everything up, but hey, I just took my break, and I have some time now if you want to, you know.
All right, Marcus. Yes, we can do it. I changed the schedule around. We can do your little interview. You don't
Chicken or
mind?
the egg? Which came first in this situation? Was it a matter of society pushing the church to the sidelines, or did the church just cower from society?
You know, I've heard arguments on both ends of that, and if you look, especially back in the 20s and 30s, when I think, you know, it was the first time we had
Beginning of the decline.
yeah, and you know, you have the New Deal and you have government growing really big,
Sure.
and there's all different opinions on that. But did the government grow and push the church out, or did the church withdraw and the government fill the gap?
Right.
There's probably other people that can answer that better. You know what? The end result is the same. The
The net
church
effect is
is
exactly the
less
same.
involved. The church is less a factor in our culture than it was. That's the problem. And so we've taken it up to now. You get into the 50s and 60s when the youth culture was really asserting itself.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
and there's, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean,
Sure.
that's the era when it
Sure.
all started to, the youth culture asserted itself, and it's taken off, and the church is standing off, all right? And so what do we have happen? The church is trying to play catch-up. We have rock and roll develop, so Christian rock and roll, rap music, Christian rap. So instead of innovating, we are reacting and responding. And sometimes we respond pretty well. But the shame of it is overall, earlier in our history, especially through the Reformation and times like that, all of the cultural, artistic innovations came out of the church. Science,
Absolutely.
the innovative science came out of the church. And of course, all through history, hospitals, orphanages, all kinds of things that met human need, all came from the church. And now it's been co-opted by other institutions, government or other secular institutions. And now it's gotten to the point where the church, we haven't just been marginalized, we've been cast aside as irrelevant in some cases, and even seen as the focus of evil. We are now accused as being the haters. Can you believe hate speech? Hate speech is now, you know, if you preach certain parts of the Bible, you're considered to be a hater. And in Canada, people are getting arrested for that. Now, that's not happening here. Well, it's, you know, it's in the works here in this country. You know, we're not coming too far from a time when possibly there are going to be government agents sitting in the back of a church watching for hate speech. And we'll be able to arrest the speaker.
Winning America. God's really blessed you, and it's not a novel concept, it's not a new idea, but really lit a fire under you. And,
yes.
and what is the idea of this? What's the concept of winning America beyond the obvious?
We need to mobilize the church. The church can again be relevant. It can again be salt and light in our culture, which it needs desperately to be. Our culture needs it desperately. But I think churches have become very comfortable. They've become ingrown. And as a result, it's easy to be fat and sassy and not do anything. And I say not do anything. I'm talking about the big picture of getting your assignment from God, saying, Lord, here am I, send me. What is my assignment? I believe every church and every individual has an assignment from God. And if we would find that assignment and fulfill it, or at least pursue it with everything we have, we'd change this country around.
Absolutely.
We would change everything.
Absolutely.
All right, Marcus, do your thing.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marcus Dupree.
All right, go on.
I have a very popular YouTube show, actually a couple of them, Cooking with Chef Marcus, and Marcus in Your Cup. This is how Dirk discovered me, and this is how Perks came about.
All right, Marcus, look at me. All right, tell us about yourself.
Without me, there would be no Perks.
Okay, Marcus, look at me again.
Okay.
Let's look at me, look at the camera. Look at me, look at the camera, okay? Here we go. Now, tell us a little bit about your background, not the show's background.
Oh, well, my mom had 2 or 3 jobs, and to support us, I never knew my dad, so I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, and that was kind of hard on my mom. Then my pap died a while back. My grandma really misses him. I miss him a lot too. So I moved in with my grandma to keep a look after her. She's kind of old. She's 78 years old. I'm pretty sure she's not going to be happy about me sharing that on TV, but too late. Anyway, so I worry about her a lot. She's Graham, she's old, family's everything, So.
Yeah, I guess I'm beginning to realize that more and more all the time. So tell me about Walter Wiley and your Graham. What kind of relationship do they have?
No relationship. No, they're just best friends, I mean, I thought he proposed to her a couple of days ago, but I was wrong, and my Graham straightened me out about that. They just keep each other company.
Is that what they call it these days?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Keeping company.
Keeping company.
Sure.
You know what? My grandma's coming actually right now, so I'm gonna go make her some tea.
All right.
Be nice to her.
Oh, of course. Always.
Marcus Dupree.
Okay. Hey, Mrs. Dupree, how are you? You remember me. Marcus is going to get you tea right now.
My grandson is so thoughtful.
Yes, he is. Hey, I was just hearing about his story. He was telling me about his life story, and I got to tell you, you play a very important part in his life. He's very fond of you.
That's mutual. I don't know what I'd do without him.
Yeah.
He's very, very good to me.
So he also told me that you and Mr. Wiley like to keep each other company. Is that right?
I know what you are insinuating, young man. And if you know what's good for you, you will never insinuate any such tawdry thing again.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't believe so much in the cookie cutter approach.
No.
Every church has to find its own unique role.
Absolutely.
And you were just talking about the significance of each church finding its role.
Yes, the church has to find its own role because think about the Bible. How many, there's one Noah in the flood, one David and Goliath.
Right.
Even when Jesus healed blind people, he did it many different ways.
Right.
And so everybody has to have their unique touch from God to find out their assignment or their church. Every church has a unique role to play. Every individual has a unique role that God has for them.
And you know what will never be compared to another church. I just spoke to a men's group over the weekend, and that was something that I said, just kind of mentoring fathers, and I said that God will never compare us to someone else. He never will say, well, I bless this person with those gifts, and you don't sing like he does, or you don't preach like that person does. We only are compared to ourselves like a good father would compare his children, not to each other, but to themselves. reaching their potential, being their best. And it's exactly the same metaphor for the church, that the church can reach its God-given potential.
Yep.
How do we do that? What is your program? How does it take us and take a church?
What I do with Winning America, we developed a 4-part series called the Transformational Summit.
Right.
And it is 8 to 10 hours long, so we have to do it over 4 sessions. We're right in the middle of one right now out in McDonald, Pennsylvania. And we are, I think over a period of 4 weeks, we can really develop and help churches to get to this place to start looking at what maybe God is calling them to.
Outward instead of inward.
Yes, and we've seen it happen already. We did one a year ago up in Venango County, and a year later, I just got a report, unsolicited. They told me that their group is expanding its efforts outward and doing some different things. So we just believe God's given us something here that is working.
This is very exciting, and it is so necessary. It's critical. How would one get in touch with you? Your website. How can they find out more about your program?
The website, www.winningamerica.org.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is encourage people to, they can contact me through that.
Okay.
In order to, I come speak at their church on Sunday morning. We can book a summit. Now that takes a little more doing because that's the 4 sessions.
Event.
Or we can shorten it. We can do anything that works for you. Also, I'd like to get people on our blog entry thing because they can subscribe. Go on the website, the homepage, top right corner, hit subscribe, put your email in. You'll be notified every time I do a blog entry.
Don, is there hope for the church?
Yes, there's hope, but we have to decide that we will go to God and say, "Here am I, send me."
That's right.
That is the only hope.
My family's verse for this year is Isaiah 40:31. But those who trust in the Lord for their strength, we will find our strength and renewed.
Absolutely.
Amen?
Absolutely. Amen to that.
That's the difference, is if we depend upon ourselves, even the weak will eventually fall, stumble, and die. But those who trust in God will find our strength renewed. That's
That's
promise.
it. That does it.
Yeah, sure it applies to the church. Applies
Absolutely.
to the church.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. This is very encouraging.
The door is open, the coffee's strong. We're all hoping you'll stop by. So come on in and find a friend to help you on your way. Pull up a chair and find his care. We'll be here every day in his place. Ba-ba-da-da, his place, his place.
All right, thanks for tuning into the show. I know you could be watching a lot of other TV programs, but you chose to watch the best one, His Place. You can always go to hisplace.tv to find out more information about our guests, including Don Nixon and Winning America, or find out more information about other guests that we've had on the program. And you want to tune in next time because guess what? Brian Cole is going to be here. Yeah, we like him. Great music. Hope that you'll tune in for that. Always find out more information about us, making reservations, and leaving feedback at hisplace.tv.